historic wood windows because a lot of people get in their old historic house and they see these old windows and they have no idea how they're supposed to work. So this is going to be a little demonstration on what to expect, what to see, how they're supposed to work so you can learn how to repair them. When you have a window, okay, first off, let me back up. When we do the salages to take out windows and save things from houses, the very first one that we did was a collaboration with Edgecombe Community College's Historic Preservation Program. So we took this exact window out of a house on Pender Street that was going to be demolished.
Yeah.
This exact window came out.
Yeah.
We took it out. All the materials were taken back to the shop and rebuilt into this working demonstration so that we could use it for demonstration purposes. So when you see a window, this is the inside. So you come up to your window and what you're going to see is this is a double hung window. What it means is that you've got two sashes, a lower and an upper, and that the lower one is always going to be towards you, the upper one is always going to be closest to the outside. The way that they work is that there are these sash ropes that connect to them, and down into the sides are weights. There's going to be 2 per window, and they go down into these sash channels. They are perfectly calibrated for the weight of each sash. So it's not like a new window where you have to like open a little clip and get it to stop. It should just raise and lower with your fingers very, very easily and stop wherever you want them to stop. That's that's how they're supposed to work. And if they don't, you can fix them. And the top one is the same way. Now, you do have to keep in mind weather changes with humidity. They're natural materials. They're going to swell and shrink, so certain times of the year they might stick. But a big problem you'll see is that they're painted incorrectly. A lot of times they're painted down in here and on the sides, and they shouldn't be painted that way because every little layer adds up and then it can't fit and you're just, you know. Same thing with the sash cords. The cords should not be painted. Sometimes you'll see chains and they're painted, and that can be a big problem as to why your window's not working. So now, let's go into the interior of it a little bit. Your casing that goes around the window, we're going to take this off so you can see how it works.
Wow.
Okay, so this comes out, so you can see that there are 2 weights in here, and that's how they hang. That's what the mechanism is. So when I lift this one up, you'll see this weight comes down, and it's on a pulley up here. This pulley also should not be painted, so it goes up and down. Now the one in the back here is for the upper sash. So when I lower the upper sash, this pulley goes up. A lot of times you'll go in your house, or when I go in houses, people say, oh, my windows aren't working. The first thing I notice a lot of times is these sash cords are cut. Of course it's not going to work. There's no counterbalance of a weight. And I go, you have no cords. And they go, what? I'm like, you have no weight to balance it. Okay, well, now we understand what that is. You'll also notice that it doesn't go all the way down. These things, when they're tied off, there's a specific length they have to be. It's because if you had this too short, and then it wouldn't go up, or too long, if you went all the way up, this would hit the bottom in here. So you do have to pay attention to the length when you're retying them. Now, let's say, okay, what I'm going to show you now is, let's say that your sash cord is broken or came undone, or your window's broken and you want to repair it, you want to figure it out how to fix it. Let's say the window's fine and you need to change out this cord because it ripped, it broke, whatever. All your windows on each side are going to have an access panel on either side. You'll see in here, turn a little bit, is that, and a lot of times they're painted over, but they're there. It's a little screw right in here, and if I undo it, you're going to take out this little screw, and then this little access panel will come out. It's supposed to come. Oh, you know what? We made this. All right, we made this so this has to come out. So let's back up a second. Let's say we have a fun little bullet hole here, and we left it because it's kind of cool. But let's say it was. Well, it is. It's kind of cool. So let's say this is part of the provenance of the piece. So let's say you wanted to repair this piece of glass, and you need to take it out. So what you need to do then is this piece right here is called it's a stop. It's called a window stop. You have one here, here, and here. This is the only thing holding this in this window. So if you saw on a video that I put out on a couple weeks ago when we did a salvage, and it was painted, we left this unpainted so you could see the difference, is that you just take your knife, like a little razor knife, and you score down here and pop it out, and you just pry this piece out. Probably should have brought some tools. Use your flathead. There we go. This is in my garage.
Figure it out.
Well, okay. If you saw it, it was a lot easier in the video. So this comes out, and then you'll see that this just swings out. It just swings out just like that. Okay. Now you'll also notice that these windows, they have. See, this the other side just comes out too. So now this window is free. All of the windows have a channel down the side here. That's where this cord rests in there so it doesn't get in the way when it's sliding up and down. And they're knotted, and they have a little hole right here where the knot sits in. So you can just knot the end of it, stick it in there, run the cord up the channel, and it's in there. A lot of times they'll be nailed, which is fine if you want a little bit more security. But if you want to nail it, please don't nail it in the channel. Because how are you going to get needle nose pliers in there to get that back out? Nail it through the knot. That's if you want to nail it. So then, what you do is, if you want to take this out, you want to clamp it up here. Because if you take this out and let go, guess where it's gone? And some houses don't have a stop under here. It'll go all the way down to who knows where. There are some stories of people going under their house and finding weights everywhere, because they fall all the way down there. So what you want to do is get a clamp or a clip or something. Or make sure that the knot stays there. We tie it because it could, go through there. So here we have our window sash. Now, if you take both of your window sashes out and you fix them, and then you go, well, wait, which one's the top one? Which one's the bottom one? A way to know is that all of the windows are cut at an angle on the bottom to allow water to slope out. Fun fact, it's 9 degrees. So, if you see the bottom one, you'll find the one that's sloped. And that's the bottom. And then your thicker rails are on the bottom and the top. You'll see this one's thin and this one's thicker. That's how you'll know. So, you see this channel, this is where your little knot goes. This is where your sash goes. The cord goes up here. And then the inside towards the house is always going to be wood with a profile. The outside is going to be glazed with a putty. We'll probably have another demonstration another time on puttying, because that's a whole nother story. So all right, now let's say this one's broken. We want to take this one out. How do we take this one out? Well, what we have to do is this next piece here is called a parting strip. It's just a piece that goes in between the top sash and the bottom sash. So this one has to come out.
Do they always just have it on one side? Or both? The parting strip?
It's on both sides. You'll see it's one here and here. There's a stop on 3 sides on the outside, on the inside of the house, and there's a parting strip here, here, and here, and they all will come out. You may have to take all these out. We just nail this one in and this one in just to keep them from coming out, but this one will come out too. This one comes out.
Assembly.
And
don't look, it should be.
So this one comes out too. Same thing. All right? Okay. Now, I'm going to put this one back. Well, when you're putting them back in, you put in your sashes and you stick them in the channel and you just slide them in there. But you see why you need the strips, because if not, they're going to do this. One thing to note is the pulleys here. A lot of times your pulleys are not meant to come out, so don't try to make them come out unless you know they're the kind that do, because they're sort of set in with barbs, sort of like a fish hook, so they snap in and they don't come out. So sometimes you'll see chains that are lifting windows instead of a rope. Well, you always want to put back what was there. If you aren't sure, these pulleys here are made for rope because in the profile, the pulley is rounded, it's got a U shape. If it's square, like if it's just square with the angle, it was meant to have a chain, and that's the difference. So, like we were saying before, let's go back to this little window. We've got all this in here. We need to change out we retie our weights or change out the sash cord because the cords do go bad. They do rot out, and you have to retie them. So you'll take out this screw, and this little, it's just kind of. Oh, there's two, that's why. That's why I'm like, wow, that's so hard. Oh, there it is. Okay, yes, here we go. There's two up there. Okay. It's the story of my life.
Well, safety first. That's why it has 16 screws.
It does. Normally, it has one. Just one.
At least the window's secure.
Yeah, I don't know why we put. I'm gonna blame it on Chris. He's the other guy that helped me make this.
Dude.
All right. So this panel will come out, and you'll notice that it's cut on two different angles here. So it's two angles so that if you were to put it, you can slide it up like this, and then it rests right like this. So you'll put these in and take a screw, it'll suck that part in. Normally it's just one screw right at the top that you'll see. So this access panel will come out. Then this would be here. So you don't have to take it out. So all you have to do is just reach in and get your weight out and retie it and put it right back in. Now, it's not a complicated knot. There's a simple little knot to do this, and I'll show you a book to get. I'll show you the knot later. But that's what you do. So I'll show you the knot later. I need to bring one forward. So that's how you access them. So with these windows are meant to be repaired and not replaced. The windows, especially on very early houses, were the single most expensive thing in the entire house. They were not meant to be thrown away. They were meant to be repaired and maintained. And they're like, oh, but you got these new windows that are maintenance free. Maintenance free means you can't maintain it. You have to throw it away. So, okay. I'll say that. I'm going to do that. That's what it means. Okay, so let's talk about the outside of the window. When you're looking at the outside of your house, a true historic home will have wooden storms on it. A lot of you will notice these storms, they just hang like this.
Oh, wow.
Oh. That's how they're meant to go. So, in the summertime, you take them off, and your house looks like this, and some people have janky plastic shutters nailed into here, and some are like this big, and some are this big, and you go, why doesn't that look right? Because this little recess right here in the sill and up here in the jamb is meant to fit shutters or storms, wooden storms, and it fit right in here. And sometimes you'll see, like, what is this hardware? What is that? That's what that's for. And they're always built like this with two little window panes in here, and then this divider matches up with the meeting rail of your two windows there. Sometimes you'll see them with screens in them. You can change them out. In the winter, they'll have glass, and in the summer, you can have a screen, so you can still have the airflow. Some of them, and look, they just hang. Ta-da. They're so easy, and they fit perfectly in here. Some of them you'll see, and I've even noticed on Pearl and Nash, the pretty little periwinkle color house, they've got little brackets that hold them out in the summer for airflow. So they just stay just like that. These are as good or better than your double pane thermal new windows, because where you get the R factor is the dead airspace. So in between here, you're going to have an inch and a half of airspace, whereas in those new windows, I mean, a 1/16 of an inch, a quarter of an inch. So that's this. Now this is broken, but it was already broken before. So. but you know, hey, all right, we want to fix that. What do? Well, I take it out, and I take off my glazing, and I just put a piece of glass in there and reglaze it, and it's done. And I got it. Now, one of these would be made for every single window, and the way you keep them straight is that if you notice in some of your old sills, if you kind of scrape all the paint off, there might be a little tag, a little pin, and it might have a number on it, like 12 or 7. And it would be corresponding to one of these, so that when you're in the attic, you know which one goes where. It's really kind of cool. And this one, can't really see it from this angle, but this one has a little spring clip down here to keep it closed. So the wind, whatever, just keep it closed. Up here, you'll notice 2 different types of repairs that we did when we got this window out to show you. This is originally what it looked like. This piece right here, we left it. This side, we sanded it, stripped a lot of paint off, and painted it. This side, we left. You got big, flaky, chunky pieces off, but didn't sand it, we just painted it. You can do whichever one you want. You always want to remove the loose paint. But some people kind of like that weathered, used, loved look, is this. Or if you want it to look newer, you can just sand it down. And that's the difference. That's why we left it like that. But this is exactly what they should look like. Now, if you had shutters on your home instead of storm, you can also have a storm. One thing to note, and why some of them look janky, I call them janky, is that your shutters were meant to fit inside this section right here. So when you're buying shutters, there was going to be some hardware that fit right here, and it just swung right in, closed. And so if you want shutters, you should try to make them look operable even if they aren't. But that's how you size them, is they should fit exactly in between here. Not like here or here, and they shouldn't be nailed way out here. So they'll be on hardware, and they will actually fold out, and you can get a shutter dog, which is a little piece of hardware that holds them back. This right here is a very important piece. A lot of new construction and new homes don't have it. This is your drip cap right here, so that when water hits here, it will roll right here and then just drop right down. And if it does hit this section here, this is cut an angle. What's the angle? 9 degrees. It's cut at 9 degrees and to angle that water off. Same thing, and it sticks out right here, and it comes, and so the water will hit here and drip down. And your windows are set back. You have another stop right here, keeping this window from coming out. This is another stop right here that stops that. And so when you see newer windows, and you go, something's not right. It's sitting too far out. It's because they're having shadow lines. These are all set back in a certain way. That's why you look and you go, something's off. How am I on time?
You're doing excellent.
Okay, so that's all right. So
cord? Is it special cord? Is it sash weight cord? Is it
It
something you buy at
is.
a hardware store?
It is sash cord, and and there are different ones that are rated for different weights. Because obviously, if you have some of these old windows from your 1901 house, and they're taller than me, and the one sash, they're going to be really, really heavy. And so they're numbered like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're all weighted for different rates. But you do want to get something called sash cord, and you can find it probably online somewhere. I've never seen it like Lowe's or anything like that. But yes, there is a specific cord. I would get sash cord. It's designed for this. It will last longer.
Right. And you said it comes in for different weights, different numbers, but is it like a diameter?
It's going to be a strength. It's usually the same. It's not, the diameter isn't
No,
that
that's all
different.
about diameter, yeah.
It's just not that different, but it's going to be, because if it's bigger, it's not going to fit, in the pulley,
Unless it's a bigger pulley. for the
Yeah.
window.
Okay.
But I would try to replace it with what you have,
yeah.
And if you're not sure, check the weight.
Or take it with you and they'll figure it out.
If you've got it,
Yeah.
take it with you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But again, online is where you're going to find
Right.
some
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So, yeah.
Where are you gonna find weights?
Okay, this is why I always say keep your weights. Keep your weights. If you can't find weights, we have some at the salvage store, because when I see them,
Very cool.
I get them. Because if they're gone, I get them. But, they're all numbered. Now, these we've made them kind of pretty, but normally they're just nasty, rusted, because they're nothing but iron. And I've seen them where they're this long. And they are just behemoths. And sometimes I've seen them with a number kind of etched on them. It'll be like number 8 or something. It really just depends on the manufacturer. But they're going to be equal to half the weight of your window. So if you really aren't sure, get your window and weigh it. And if it's 10 pounds, it's going to be more than that. But if it's 10 pounds, then you need 2 5. So that kind of a thing. So that's how you want to find something. Because if you get an improperly balanced weight, it's not going to work right. And it probably won't fit. Especially if you get a weight that's too big and made for a smaller window, you're not going to have that clearance for this to go up and down in the space that it needs to. So if you don't have I would suggest taking off take off your casing and look and see if your weights are there. Most of the time they're there. If they're not, get somebody brave to go under your house and look for them, because they probably fell down there. And then if not, give us a call. We'll see what you can find. But always save your weights. Yes?
Do you use a special kind of paint for those weights?
For these, we don't usually paint them. This was just spray
wanna make
paint.
them look
Well,
spray
we
paint.
don't usually paint them. The only reason we did is because people can get out and play with them, and if we didn't, you would
But is
have
it
nasty
Rust-Oleum?
rust.
Is it Rust-Oleum?
Yes,
Cool.
Just-
okay.
just a-
Yeah, I thought it was.
just a Rust-Oleum,
Right.
yeah. But you bring up a good point about paint, is that in these old windows, you definitely want to keep them painted.
Right.
That is how they keep the water out. And lots of times you want to treat them with a boiled linseed oil first.
Okay.
Then you use an oil-based paint on a primer, and then you use your oil. You can use latex after that if you want to. 2 coats of latex paint. Now, when we're talking about paint, remember I said you don't want to paint the whole thing. Couple of reasons. One we talked about is because if you keep painting sides that weren't meant to be painted, it's going to start sticking. Now we got a little bit of paint on here, and it's okay. But if I was to paint it again and again and again, I was going to be building up this lip, and it's not going to work right. So you don't want to paint the sides. You always want to make sure at least one side of your window is unpainted. If you come in and somebody's already painted all sides of it, you need to strip at least one edge of it, because it's also a way that if moisture does get in a part of it, it will allow a surface area for the moisture to get back out. So if this one's in there and somehow, I left my putty too long, I didn't glaze it, I just left too many years, and water gets in there, it has nowhere to go, it will find its way out. So it won't stay in there and rot.
You got a good personality.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's see. So you want to make sure at least one side is unpainted. Usually we recommend the bottom of the bottom sash, the top of the top sash, leave it unpainted. The sides you don't want to paint, obviously, because it's going to run into friction issues and not slide up and down. If you do have problems with that, you can wax it. You can put some wax and it will glide a little bit easier.
You guys use beeswax in
Any
there.
kind
Hair products.
of, I wouldn't use hair on there, but yeah,
Right.
some sort of wax maybe.
I know
for, like,
something
greasing stuff
on
up.
woodwork, like, you know, the surfboard wax,
Maybe,
candle maybe?
maybe,
Melt a candle up.
maybe.
Melted candle surfboard wax.
Melted candle surfboard wax.
Can get that.
In cherry vanilla flavor.
Yeah, right.
So on those hot days, you're like, oh, it's cherry vanilla. Yeah.
And pie salt on there.
So that's kind of about it. If you guys want to come up and play with this and practice kind of putting it together, you know, seeing how it works, feel free. I mean, come on up and play with it. But that's kind of the gist. Yeah.
Yeah.